Welcome to City Life. My name's Linda Bown. I'm your host this morning, and I have Mayor Erik Gitschier in this morning. I'm very happy to say, and very apropos, they passed the budget last night.
We did. And good morning, Linda. Good morning, John. Thank you for having me again.
Well, now, we've been talking about it. Actually, it seems we've been talking about it longer than we usually are.
I think it's the times. As times are changing, you're seeing all the inflation, all the money. So I think that we started talking about budgets earlier. We're very worried about, the drop in the sales tax rate from 5% to 4% and the effects that'll have on the government and staffing and the services that people have come to expect. When we expect services and people, I always say this to the students a lot, when you say something's free, there's no such thing as free. It's called inflation. So everything that's free causes inflation and causes prices to go up. And when we say that, there are needs for some, but some things we're being taken advantage of, and we really have to look harder at and see what is a need and what's a want. There's a difference when inflation's going through the roof and everybody's pointing fingers at everybody, but as you watch, when someone says something's free, it's called inflation. And it's hard to explain to the students, and when you do, they understand after about 3 minutes of the conversation. And when you ask them, what college are you going to? And when they don't say a community college, I say, well, thank you for paying for 2 colleges.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you mean? I go, well, when you go to work, when they say something's free, it's out of our tax money. And we have to understand that everything good we want to do, it has a cost, and it's inflation. And you're looking at gas prices through the roof, and that has a big bearing on budgets because everything runs. Last night, there was an interesting question on the bookmobile. Councilor Noon asked the question, I don't see any gas in the budget, for the Council on Aging. The library. And they said, well, they're going to take it out of another account, obviously. But I told them, listen, Councilor Noon, they're going to call you every time they need to use it, and you're going to push it to the next stop. And then he laughed. But that's what we don't understand is these budgets. If people are struggling in their home, remember that transfers tenfold to government. Our schools and our buildings, there's over 60 buildings in the city that we maintain or own. And with that comes a cost. And the driver is, the same as your home, but on a 10 times rate. That high school is a very big place, and efficiencies, we're looking at when are those solar panels going to come on that building so that we can try to drive down the energy cost.
When are they?
That was a question I asked in a motion just 2 weeks ago, so I'm just waiting for the answer. But it's all wired for it, it's all ready to go, so hopefully we can get into those drives, and those are the only savings we can see right now, and I was the one who pushed for that sustainability department, and currently they've pulled in almost $30 million in grants.
Really?
And there's only 3 employees, so it's important to understand that if we can drive down costs, the only way we're going to do it in government is to try to look at the savings and some of the green energies, and try to, like, you look at the Moody School up on Rogers Street. If you go up there, you'll see the property. You got Ford Hill right across the street, beautiful property.
Yeah.
Beautiful trees, beautiful everything. You got Rogers Hall, beautiful property, nice trees and everything. Everything around it. Then you look at the only property in that area without trees on it, the Moody School. All asphalt, all a heat island, costing us crazy money to heat in the winter, and trees protect you from the energy cost. So we really got to look at that and seeing if we can increase their playground platform and try to give them more green space so that they can cool off when they're out there. Like, I went there the other day when it was the hottest day, and the kids are outside, and the asphalt is 100 degrees, and the kids are trying not to be boiling. And I think that those are things that we should, and at minimal cost.
Yeah.
A backhoe, a line, you cut it, pull the asphalt, put some loom down, seed it, put some trees in that we're dying for over there. And it's a beautiful area. But that one corner, and it's a highlight corner when you look at High Street where it meets Rogers Street.
Yeah.
It just needs some beautification and make that back to what it should be.
Well, is anybody looking at that?
We are. I've spoken to the manager multiple times. He's putting the sustainability person on it. We're starting to look at seeing what we can do over there to cool it off and try to get some energy savings out of there. But those are the things that you look at, because when you're the mayor, I get to go to all these schools, and it's things that I don't normally get to see in my day-to-day operation. But when you go there and you see how things actually work inside, it's profound to think that we're in 2026 and this property's been like that for 30 years. You know, it's, you just look and you go, wow, why are we not looking at the energy savings that we could have and the quality of life for the education over there?
Now, in Lowell, do you have, you must have policy as far as plantings in any kind of redevelopment?
We don't.
Mandate, no?
We do and we don't. We don't have a tree committee.
Oh,
And you're in 2026, and that's what we're trying to put together now. I made that motion maybe a year ago, and it's an important piece, because you look at that apple orchard, if we had a tree committee in place, we would have been able to stop half of those trees from being cut down. And
yes.
what people don't understand is tree committees, actually the ordinances and everything, the bylaws that go with them, actually do cover private property. And
Yes,
if
they
people cut down trees at will, there's a fines that go along with it
Yeah.
that sustain the department.
It's and people, when they buy their property, we see it in Tewksbury all the time, that they don't get it. They assume because they own the property, they can do what they will. And you just can't do that anymore. I mean, well, you never could. I mean, you're not supposed to be cutting trees in wetlands, that type of thing. But we have a pretty strict policy as far as development and plantings. And fortunately, I have several members on conservation that are very aware and into it, and the calculations, and present it every time someone comes in. What are you going to do about plantings? And don't give us a twig that you're going to put that's going to grow in 30 years.
Being at Greater Lowell, I know that better than anybody, how your conservation works. And it's an amazing partnership when you look. It really is about the environment. It is really about people and quality of life, living, whether you have asthma or COPD or anything like that, any kind of breathing issues. We need these trees. You know, and the sad part is, just because of income, it should not determine your health the way it does, but it really does in this country. And it does in our city. And we really need to get out front of this and try to catch up to what we've lacked in the past. And I think that when we look at the environment, you look at the heat island places, most of them in the city are the lower income places.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to me to look and see, cut down a tree here. And, builders are going to build, they're going to cut. And that's one of the major drivers why I don't believe in this whole build at will that's going on in this state, is that we're taking our health into, not into consideration. And we're just throwing houses up to say, to feed a need that we're really not feeding. And as much as they say they are feeding it, you're not. They're going to affordable housing, which is rentals, and some rich person's making money off of it.
It's not affordable. It's never affordable.
No, it is affordable if the state picks up the other end of the tab. And the problem is that if we went to affordable home ownership, you could make a difference in somebody's life with that state dollar, and not into just the rich person's life or the builder. And right now, because of cost of building materials and everything else, it has to be offset by government to make it affordable. There's no other way. And people can lie and they can stretch. Oh, if we build more apartments, we can reduce the cost. No, you can't. You can't right now. There's really no way. Sure, you can put it on paper, but what happens is you're subsidizing it, and that's called inflation again, and it comes out. So we really have to get people to buy into affordable home ownership, because you're buying at a time and place. So you're buying at a cost that's known at that point in time where you're going to gain equity. The other way, as everything increases, your rent's going to just go up and up and up and up and up, like it has if you look in the last 25 years.
But they've made this. They always say on the 40B it's affordable. Well, first of all, it's not affordable. But now they've come up with, they haven't, Massachusetts, for example, hasn't built any quote-unquote public housing, but they have all these different programs. They have voucher programs. They have Section 8. So they're picking it again, but the people aren't getting a leg up. You're absolutely right.
Well, in the public housing, look at the cost for the employees who are actually running it.
Yep.
So is that really public housing at that point? You know, and do we really need public housing to the rate that we have it at when we could have public home ownership?
Well, where are you
could
going
have
to put
homeownership.
20 million people, though?
We could have a generational home ownership, so it doesn't just go to this continual cost that's going. It's the same generation that's in these apartments. You're
Right.
seeing multiple generation
Yes,
after multiple generation.
absolutely. Wasn't
So
meant to be.
how do we give them the will to get out of that situation and actually have partake in it? Because if you look, some of the and believe me, Lowell Housing Authority does the best they can at keeping the properties. But if you have no stake in these properties, you're not going to maintain them the way you do if you
Absolutely.
had home ownership in them. And that's where the problem comes in our city. Is you see a lot of these rentals where, you know, people don't have a stake in it. They're the most run down because a lot of these landlords are absent, and that's what we've been trying to fight.
Well, the whole system, the anti-poverty system, it gives people, it keeps them stable, it allows them to maintain, but it does not give them any
Exactly.
leg up.
The
They don't-
tenants are not angels. I can tell, when you drive through the city, it's February and it's 20,000 degrees below zero, and you see a hallway door left open to the street. Who left that open? A tenant did.
Yeah.
You see the windows open. It's 20 degrees below zero. The windows are open. In the car, it's cold in here. Tenants' rights down the courthouse are a joke. I haven't paid my rent in 6 months. Oh, here's $5. Okay, let her stay.
Well, that's
The housing authority, for $300 a month, you get a 2-bedroom apartment and all utilities. $300 a month. How can you beat that?
not everybody.
I'm never moving, and I can have all the guests I want, and nobody says a thing.
You can see this.
Get down to Bishop Markham. That's what's going on right now.
You can see something's going on. All you got to do is drive through and look at the vehicles that are down there. How can you have?
They're visiting. What's wrong with that?
There's amazing vehicles.
Do you want these people home, lonely?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put everybody into one bucket, but I think that at some point we have to really look into this better and try to support the system and try to move it.
There's no
What
mindset.
worked
There's no
20 years
mind,
ago
Eric. There's
doesn't
no
work today.
mindset to do that in Lowell Housing Authority. No
It isn't
mindset.
just the housing; it's the whole court system, and you can't. The jails are closed, for God's sakes. You can't do anything. You have a paper trail, but you can't get rid of them. You can't.
We hear
And
that.
what do you do with someone if you throw them out of public housing?
We hear this all the time. It's this one, it's that one, it's this one, it's that one. Everybody points their finger every way. It comes down to the politicians at the State House.
Yes.
You know, give these judges, and if the DA doesn't come in with something that the judge can actually rule on, the judge can't make up charges.
Right.
And that's the other hard part. So is it the DA? Is it this one? Is it that one? The judges point to the DA. DA points to the judges. Everybody points to everybody, and everybody makes a lot of money in between. And the quality of life goes down. We need to really.
Eric, when I was a
Except
kid,
the
when I was a
taxpayers.
kid, the hobos, we didn't call them homeless then, we called them hobos. When it got cold, they'd break the glass window at Frank and Ernie's. They'd get arrested and they'd go to jail for the winter. When you're a kid, similar things would happen. They'd just break Frank and Ernie's window and they'd get arrested and go to jail for the winter. Now the judge won't put them in jail.
I think the DA, again, does it come to the DA and what they're bringing forward on the charges? That's the problem. Back then they were stronger. When I was a kid, John, one of the most interesting things I tell people, and they still don't want to believe it, is that homeless people, the value of properties wasn't what it is today. So there were a lot of boarded up homes and the mills were open, and a lot of homeless were in those mills. And a lot of homeless were in these boarded up properties because when I worked at the water department, we used to have to go in and retrieve the water meters, so that we could put the billing together. And when you went in there, there'd be 20, 30 people sleeping in a home. Right across from the boys' club, there used to be a house there that's in that Palin Plaza, and they were in that triple-decker. When we walked in, they were sleeping all over the place, and I was like, oh, boy. But, feces in the corner and stuff like that. So nothing has changed about the homeless. It hasn't
They
really.
just don't go to jail anymore.
And I don't know the answer because people tell me that the DA is not putting together the right.
It's Boston.
Charges.
The legislators keep making laws that nobody else is helping anybody.
Why do I want them to go to jail when I have all these people making money off of them? And then I don't have to put
Big
them
business.
in. Yeah, there's a lot of money that's going that way. Follow the money, and you'll figure a lot of it out. And you look, it's overwhelming for a lot. When we look across the street, you see the South Common. I drove by this morning, and then the only place that had people was the Jerry's food store over there. But other than that, everything was pretty much clean.
So everybody coming to the city today, they're gonna drive by Jerry's food store?
And then that's the question, John. They're not sleeping; they're just standing there. They're just walking around.
Well, they're scary. They're scary people. I'm sorry, scary. Don't be scared. That customers just go elsewhere. They go out to Chelmsford.
John, I think, in my opinion, society has failed people.
Yes.
And I don't think anybody's scary. They're homeless people, and most times our mental health care is the thing that suffers. And any one of us could go through a tough time at that point.
Eric, they're scary people. We're falling down on our duty to let these people live outside.
I guess they're scary if you didn't grow up in an inner city. And, when you grow up in an inner city, we all understand that they're not scary to me as a person. I can walk right by them. I can talk to them. They were never scary to me. But I understand what you're saying. If you come from, Lexington or Concord and you drive by, yeah, they're scary to you.
What percentage of your childhood friends still live in Lowell? My friends got out of Lowell as quick as they could.
I live in the Highlands, and most of them are probably, their parents are still there. People.
Their
are still
parents,
there.
but them. Where did they move to? Suburbia.
Well, I never really looked at it that way, I guess.
Okay.
I haven't really paid much
They
attention.
couldn't afford it. They can't afford it.
We got two checks here.
Government is struggling because politicians are terrible at spending. You're absolutely right.
Politicians don't know math.
Regarding the budget, great job by all. Lowell City Clerk Attorney Mike Gary summed it up best, saying it was a beast. Well, now let's talk about the budget. I know we've talked about it, as I say, it seems quite a while. Usually it was just sort of zipped through. But when I first came in, we talked about you look at the budget and you go department by department, and God forbid you're the last department on the agenda.
Me, I think time is valuable, and I think you got new councilors, you have older councilors. Older councilors get frustrated because they've done this process for a long time. The newer councilors want to learn the inner workings of each department, whether it's $1,000 they want to cut or $10,000 they want to know about. It's government learning. It's civics at its best. You're learning about what each department does. So I like going department by department. If I'm here 100 years, I would like going department by department. I like seeing people explain what they do, what the ins and outs are. I learn something every single budget session that goes through like that. Some people don't like sitting there that long.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it's our jobs. It's our jobs to be transparent. It's their jobs to stand up there and understand that they're going to have to defend their budget. And I like when new councilors come in and they ask questions, because it always triggers my thought into a different place than maybe I didn't get to think before. And I think that's the public's duty to understand. It's our jobs to do that. And I don't get paid to be there. I don't make any more money one way or the other. And I think when you sit there, you just have to understand that this is a city budget, $577 million. If a resident wants to come up to the microphone and ask a question during the public open hearing piece, they should be able to.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the councilors. They bring your voice there. They read the thing. If you're willing to read over 800 pages of a budget, you certainly should have a right to question. If it says the, this, and them in a paragraph, you should be able to do that. And I like the process. I've always liked the process. I've always enjoyed the process. It goes by so fast. You make mistakes in votes that you look back and you go, gee, like last night, we're at a point where we're combining the water and wastewater department, and it came up for a vote. Councilor Scott started talking about the rates, and I was writing down something, so when it came time to vote, I thought we were voting on the rates and voted no on combining the departments, when I should have voted yes on it, because it was truly an idea that I've gone over 100 times. And after the meeting, the manager said to me, "You're against combining the departments?" I go, "Mr. Manager, I was confused in the point. I was writing something down and made a mistake." And that's the human part of these budget things, and should you admit that in public? Probably not.
Well-
But it's the truth. You know, you're going through so many things, and you're trying to run things, and you're trying to talk to the next stage, and it could just confuse me in the moment. But it passed anyway, so
good.
that's all that mattered, is it passed, and it's a phenomenal idea to put those two together, have one person in charge. Aaron Fox is amazing at his job, and it will work. When you look at this budget, you still have a lot of infrastructure work in it. You know, that's still going to go on with your streets and sidewalks. If you look in Lowell right now, this plan started 4 years ago, and you look today, you're looking at a lot of this infrastructure work that's going on, and the construction that's going on. And everybody's like, why not my street now?
Yeah.
You know, and that's a good feeling when people are saying that, because that means they're seeing work being done, and they're asking these questions. But we've lacked doing this for so long that if we just let it fall apart, what are we really doing? It gets so much worse.
I think it's ironic. Driving around, I think the Lowell streets are much better than the Chelmsford streets.
And it was reversed about 5
Yeah,
years.
I know.
So
I
I
know.
think if you think about this, if we can keep, you know, going the way we're going, if we can get another 4 years in, we'll cut back on a lot of the complaints. You're getting complaints now from people who drive lowrider cars, and you know they hit a pothole. Well, I mean, the suspension is not geared for
Right.
you know anything other than, and we really are trying to get things together and trying to make sure that the infrastructure is a major driver. But when you have this many schools and everything else,
Well, I got
it's-
4 texts for you.
it's tough.
Eric, you're human and make mistakes. You own it and don't make excuses. He did. The overspending by government year after year tends to add up. Borrowing $40 trillion has consequences. Edited to should the city create a citywide appointed regulatory board for renters. Elijah Russell. Homelessness within Lowell is 95% drug-addicted individuals. There aren't many people who have fallen on hard times that will live on the streets for a long period of time.
That's it.
I hope the drug issues change in our country. I think that drugs spurred by mental health. I think that they go hand in hand. We're looking at a time in our lives that, and again, this is my opinion, no one else's. I want to state that before I say it. I think when we go back and we look back about 20 years ago when we started into behavioral drugs to try to keep kids from doing certain things in the school system or at home, I think that we lead people to that industry. And, you know, you take a drug to feel better when you're a kid, or to put a kid into a behavior. And I'm not saying kids don't need it, but the results are going to be that people are going to move to a
There's
drug.
no easy fix.
There's no easy fix. And I think mental health, when you're watching the governor cut some of the mental health stuff, I think that's a penny wise, pound foolish. I think that we need to really, if we're going to look at these industries, we should look at what we're spending and the outcomes that are coming from them. What are the drivers? How do we get there? Not just throw feel-good money at it and say, oh, we spent on health, you know, mental health, but look at what are the outcomes that
Well,
we're seeing.
Eric,
from it.
when you look at our downtown, that's drying up because businesses just don't want to exist down there anymore. And you drive by what used to be Hafner's gas station, you see a bunch of people who are as high as a kite, standing up, bent over, sleeping. Take a look at the entrance to our gateway city, Jerry's Food Store. Bunch of high people sitting in that parking lot. If any one of those people was driving a car, they'd be in jail. Why? Because they're driving under the influence. Why can't we chill?
No, they wouldn't.
Oh, they wouldn't be put in
No,
jail
they're not.
for driving their car like that?
How many people? No. They just drive anyway. They're not in jail, John.
Terrible.
They just take their license away.
Terrible.
You don't know what's on the street anymore
No,
when you're
you don't.
driving.
No,
So
you don't.
unfortunately, we used to. Yes, they used to be in jail, but not any longer. I mean, it started back in '72 when Mike Dukakis closed all the mental hospitals, and I realized, and I know
92.
they were in bad condition.
1992.
And it's just in a right, and it's I'm sorry, and it's a. They were in a terrible condition, but you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So what did they do? They said, "Oh, these facilities are horrible. We're going to close them," and they put the people on the street. They didn't think, what are we going to do next with them? They don't care about people.
When government
They don't consider them human. I don't know what it is. They're human beings.
when government feels it costs you more money, and,
Yeah.
that's really the problem, is we fail to maintain those buildings, so we close them. And when you look at like the MBTA, we put a millionaire's tax on because we were going to save roads and we were going to do more schools. Most of the money from that millionaire's tax this year went to saving the MBTA from failure. So that's where the problem is when you're looking at, I think it was $470-something million of the millionaire tax went to the MBTA. That's total abuse of power, in my opinion.
Yes.
You field something, so now you have to use a millionaire tax that you said we're going to help our schools, and we didn't do it. We took it and pushed it towards the MBTA, one section of the roads, and it really wasn't really. You can use it as transportation. I get it; it's a use, and we knew this was going to happen when those taxes came in. When you start looking at the monies that are being spent, we have to be really frugal, and I think that that's the change that the city has started to do. We're looking at our buildings that have been neglected for so long, and last night we almost made a mistake to cutting $500,000 out of a maintenance fund that helps the schools and helps maintain all this stuff. And we made the correction very fast, and I think once we understood where the money was coming from, the entire council said, we don't want to go down this path, and we didn't. So those are the drivers. Yes, there's an upfront cost, but what's the cost savings? You think about, like, people will always talk about Drake, and I always say to them the same thing. Can you imagine if they didn't do their fire station, their police station, their high school, their library, all that stuff pre-COVID dollars? When the money was you could get a lot more with your money pre-COVID, and they had to do it today in government. Oh boy, they were lucky they did it. And yes, their taxes are going. Yes, they're drivers. Yes, it's all there. But if you would have spent that money today and tried to do that stuff, we are getting gouged in government, and government is the biggest failure to itself because our procurement is killing us. If I go out to buy this bottle of water in government, it will cost me $6. If John goes to the store, it's 75 cents because we're killing ourselves in our procurement world. And me, you, and John all own the same flooring companies. We know that the bids come up in each community. We all go to each other and say, you bid this much, you bid that much, boom. And the numbers are just insane. A room like this right here would cost us $10,000 in government money to refinish the floor. In John's money, it would be $600. And you clearly see this stuff when you go out to bid.
Yeah.
And it's the saddest thing we just keep pushing it down the road. We really, truly need to put a department together at that state level and say, look, we're going after the gouging, and if we can go after the gouging, then we'll save money. The high school, $420 million, a renovation. If you did that in the private sector, it would probably be $220 million. Because you're getting gouged, and that's the problem with it. And everybody looks and says, why is inflation so high? It's because everything is gouged in government. Whether it's we go out to buy pizza for the kids or the stuff that happens, you're being gouged. And how do you correct
Well, I
it?
wouldn't pick on the pizza parlor. I don't think the pizza parlor is clipping you, but I do know that contractors are clipping you.
Yeah.
I do know they talk to one another. The bridge builders talk to one another. So I don't want that project. So what do you bid? I'm going to bid $10 million over that project.
No question. There's no, and again, you look at some of the costs, like a fire hydrant. When we first started, they were like $800. Now they're upwards of $3,000. It's just insanity in the money you were paying for simple things that, if you just jump the border, why is it New Hampshire buys the same product cheaper than it does in Mass? Why is that? Same product. You go to Tingsboro, you go to Nashua. You buy the same fire hydrant, and it costs twice as much in Mass than it does in New Hampshire.
Well, I was out to dinner with a bunch of Draketeers on Monday, and they're bragging that, as they have for the last year, their taxes are lower than Lowell's. And we get all these federal funds that we just, for the lack of a better way to put it, we power piss these monies away because it's not our money. It's free. Let's just waste it. State money too. Let's just waste this money. If we don't spend this, they won't give it to us next year. Well, if you don't need it this year, why did you spend it?
If they're bragging so much, why are they all eating each other in Drake? Because
Because they're cheap. But but the fact is, the taxes are lower in Drake than Lowell. And Lowell gets huge money from the state and huge money from the feds.
Is Drake now going to go into the same rabbit hole we did for many years, being a penny wise, pound foolish, and not maintain those beautiful buildings they have, because there's a cost. And hopefully they don't do what we did.
You know
and
what,
just
Eric?
let
I
them
went
run
through
down.
5 sets of traffic lights in Drake. There's nobody there begging at every traffic light for money. I wonder why that
we
is.
know why.
Well, because we took the social services here,
I
John.
wonder why that is.
Because all of Drake it is here in Lowell, because they didn't take
Yes,
care of their
Kings,
own,
Bown,
their own
everywhere else.
residents.
That's right.
They should have taken care of their residents, and we
No,
wouldn't have
But
them here.
the state hasn't. For a liberal state, and everybody will say, "Oh, Massachusetts is so liberal." Well, the education's going down the drain. Actually, we have all kinds of social services, but now they're beginning to see these states that have all these wonderful social services. It's all full of graft. It's not going to the people. They
Linda,
pat
they're
themselves
right.
on the back and they say, "Oh, I really care." The anti-poverty agents, we care. No, you don't. Because you're maintaining your own livelihood at their expense. You're not taking care of the people.
Linda,
They
there are
don't.
people collecting benefits in New Hampshire and Massachusetts at the same time.
Yes. Because Massachusetts allows it. We don't want
In New
discriminate.
Hampshire-
We don't want we're open-minded and we're liberal.
New Hampshire
Well,
nonsense.
doesn't check either. The system's based on honesty. Honesty went out the window in 1959.
Well, we elect the same people over and
That's
over
right.
again.
It's
and
down in
expect-
Boston is
you
where it is.
expect a different outcome, and realistically, when you look, and it's all of us. It's Lowell, Massachusetts. It's Drake in Massachusetts. Look around; they elect the same people and expect a different result. In the school systems, when I look at them, and I'm on like number 11 in the schools that I'll get to see after today. When you go in there, I am in awe, and maybe I'm stuck in the dinosaur age. Maybe I'm stuck in the 80s and 90s, but I'm in awe in what these students know and learn, and how they're capable of doing things. And you look, they're reading proficient in kindergarten and first grade, and you're looking at, and there are some that aren't, and obviously we got to work better on that. But when you look at the dedications these teachers have, and maybe it's because I'm there, maybe, but I don't know that answer. But when you look around, you see the dedication that people have to trying to make kids and assist them better. DESE is the problem.
Yes.
DESE comes down with all these rules without being in a classroom and understanding the effects. And you look and you say, how does this work in a classroom? Why wouldn't you talk to the teacher and go bottom up? And I believe that in elections too. Elect people who actually tried to do the jobs no, they might not wear the suit coat every day to go for an election, or they may not knock on your door and have the proper words or sayings or something, or they may not be your neighbor, but you need someone who understands the ground game to make a change that's going to affect the ground game. And the problem is, we don't do that a lot. We look at a suit coat or a smile or words that are said, non-mistakes, and we're making the biggest mistakes because we're living with some of the worst decisions we've ever seen. DESE is making major mistakes. And when you allow the residents to come in and take votes on what is right and what is wrong, whether you like the MCAS, you don't like the MCAS.
Well, Eric, you're the head of the school department, okay? You're the big cheese. Why don't we just ignore DESE? What's going to happen? A big bowl of nothing
Oh,
honey.
no, the state will cut your funding.
Oh, no, they won't.
They'll come in.
Then we sue them.
Well, then we'll be in receivership quick.
Yeah.
You got to understand when someone has more power than you. We did this with the ADUs. We come out and we say
You take
we
them
don't
to
want them in Lowell, and next thing you know, the state
First
comes
of
in
all,
and says you're
you
getting.
take them to court with an outside law firm because the law firm we have is lackluster. I'm sure we're going to give the senior center to back to the developer. We're not going to grab that and just, it's all secret squirrel meetings, you guys. Oh, it's secret squirrel meeting time. The senior center, we're going to give it away, and you have a rotten performing legal department.
John, I would say on the senior center thing, I'll hold my comment, but I would say that let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I hope not.
Look,
But
we
hey, wait a minute. The
we should have owned
residents.
the place 3 years ago. 3 years ago. This has been stewing for 3 years, and we're going to wait for it to be 45 years?
No, I think that it's coming to a head, but I mean, the residents, the voters don't want to own who they elect. Let's look at Boston. That's what, and you've got to stay here. You have everybody's whining, and you just passed this budget. We have a state election. They'll elect the same people. They won't know who they are. They need the Corey Robinsons. They need the people that are going to go down there and make a difference, that understand the real needs, that aren't just down there and just going to follow the lead of the speaker. But you have to, I mean, when is Massachusetts going to wake up? People are leaving. It's like California. People are leaving. They don't want to be here. They can't afford to be here. I mean, all my friends, my son is in New Hampshire. Everybody is in New Hampshire. Why are they in New Hampshire?
At least,
they can't afford to
at
live in
least
Massachusetts.
once a week, we're picking up Grandpa, who lives with his kids in southern New Hampshire. Everybody all these kids, the younger generation, realizes this, and they're leaving Massachusetts.
Yes.
I think we're missing, and I think the Link project is designed based off of all
Yes.
the information that you're giving across. Is that we're educating people to go somewhere else, and I don't think in the country we're creating enough jobs that will sustain the amount of people that we're graduating into the work world, and that's where the problem is. If you look right now, the studies are out there showing that there are more unemployed college graduates than there are unemployed high school graduates. So if you left high school and you went to the work world, you have a better opportunity to find a job than if you graduate college right now. So they're showing that. And some
Let's look at both sides on W-2s. The W-2 of the high school graduate is much lower than the college graduate.
In the beginning, yes. But I don't
I
know
would
that
say
that's
now.
Yeah.
No.
I think, but if you put debt ratio against it, coming out of the college and how much debt you have and you calculate it in, I think you're making less than the high school graduate who has a trade.
That has a trade. That's a different story.
Yeah.
Well, that's
But
that's mostly what you're going to go into, right? Is a trade out of college.
Where do you think the people who they just graduate Lowell High, where do you think they go?
And
Walmart?
they're not going to college?
Walmart?
Yeah, well, it depends.
Target?
It depends. Like, you could get into, like, a union laborer's job or something. Every step doesn't mean it's the final destination, and that's the interesting piece about life is, like, I graduated high school and John McDonough needs someone to sweep his parking lot. But he sees I do a lot of good work in sweeping his parking lot. He gives me an opportunity to the next step and the next step because he likes my attitude in doing that, and that's a way around life to get to where you're going. But I agree, like, being the mayor has really opened my eyes up to other things, and I always think that I'm always trying to chase who I want to be, not who I am. Even though you make a goal, you're always chasing the next thing. Mm-hmm. And being the mayor has been interesting because my phone rings and there's people who want to be an intern for free. Kids just want to come in and they want to sit down and they want to work for free. And they just want to be a part of, okay, how do I get somewhere? They're interested in civics, they're interested in government, and they come in with one outlook and they leave with a total different outlook. And I think that if we continue to understand that this generation is much smarter than ours and people can say whatever they want, common sense is common only to the person who says it, because that's what your belief is common sense. But when you look at what people really are and you look at this generation, we need to support it. If we keep kicking it, what are we getting out of it? We're going to get nothing. They're going to sit at home on whatever people think they do, but promoting them up is the way to go. And I do think that they are very capable of doing everything we've done and more when you look at them.
well.
I got one for you to read.
I think the mayor is doing a fantastic job with all the problems he inherited. I agree. I just, the Voc School again. I when the governor ran 4 years ago, one of the big issues was vocational schools, and nothing was done. The MBTA, they give it lip service, and I think back to Harold Bell, and how he was almost like a mentor because I was I was on the finance committee when he was doing the whole issue with the school. And he had the foresight, as did Tully and some of the others, that understood that Lowell wasn't going to build a new Voc, and the towns certainly weren't going to do it individually. And they came up with a system, and they came up with a system with the towns having equal representation, that type of thing. But he pushed it. But he was a master. He understood exactly the need way back then. And they give lip service to it like the governor, but they don't understand that there is an avenue. That is where they should be putting their money. Because you're absolutely right. Okay, I mean, try to hire a plumber, try to hire an electrician, and as far as the W-2, that's where the big W-2s are right now.
Those conversations are always very personal to me when you talk about vocational education and everything. It was founded basically on, this is where we're going to put the kids who are dumb. That's what they felt. They could go do labor work, but they weren't really educated enough. They couldn't be educated enough to get to where they are. And that's how it was really founded. And when you look at the thought process to that, you didn't understand how trades were going to change through the years. In the beginning, plumbers didn't have the exams they have today. They didn't have the electrical exams or the hairdressing exams or all of the health and medical exams and everything that they have today. And today, trade schools are not only on the academic level, but to me, they're above it. Because not only do you have to do, when MCAS was around just last year, John used to be a driver in this. He used to always say this, what's your MCAS score? What's your MCAS score? Where are you in the state?
Now you can't get the MCAS scores.
But yeah, because they got rid of it. But when you look at Greater Lowell, the last exam that they had, it was 64%, and the high school was 10, under 10. And when you were looking at it, because and people will say it's selective applications. You had selective people coming in, so they went to this lottery system, which has created more uproar than I've ever seen. Because,
Finally.
I had a person ask me the other day, and they came up to me, and they were very upset, and they said, and this is a person who's got some power, and they said to me, I have an immigrant friend who came here, and they did really well from kindergarten to now, and they speak in multiple languages and this and that, and they really did hard work to get there. Can you help them get in Greater Lowell? And I said, what? I said, they had a lottery. It was all videoed and cameraed and everything. You got a ball at your number, that's the number you're at. Well, he was 150 when it started, and now he's at 75. And I said right to him, good luck. He said, you can't help? I said, I don't do that anyway, because I always think, if you're the 71st person, I'm knocking out the number one person, and just because I don't know them doesn't mean they don't deserve to be there. I'm not doing that to some kid who's worked hard to be number one, and now I'm kicking him out to take 75. I don't do that, so that doesn't really make sense to me. But at the end of the day, you're right. The governor came in and said, vocational, and the solution is a very, very interesting one to me, because you want to see failure, I'm going to point to it for you. Vocational schools are very well designed. Greater Lawrence, Greater Lowell, Minuteman, Whittier, they all have a lot of land next to them. And the land that goes with them is important to the growth of the building.
What you're looking at on the screen here is the MCAS scores of yesteryear. And you're right, the Voc was doing good. They were the 122nd smartest school system in the state. Lowell, proudly, is 263rd. The embarrassing numbers we could report here, it's just put them on the carpet and say, okay, Chelmsford's 67, Lowell's 263.
Can you scroll over to Tingsboro, see where they're at?
Tingsboro's 216.
Yeah, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah, so you think
nothing to
Greater
brag
Lowell's
about.
ahead of Tingsboro?
Yeah.
And
they only have academics half the time.
And that's what I was getting at. I was getting at that, every other week you get academics. So that tells me something about the boredom to academia. It tells me if you shrunk down some of this stuff and gave them more time to do other things like finance or something like that, you could actually change those numbers and get people geared into learning. Yeah. I think at some point you're saturated with learning after 13 years of doing it, or 10 years of doing it, you're saturated with learning, and now it's like, wah, 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 wah. And you have to really engage and push. And I think that's the hard part of, I get to see Mr. McDonough every day for the full school year. If I go to a trade school, I get to see Miss Bown only every other week. So the relationships don't like overwhelm each other.
Well, and also when you graduate from a vocational school, whether you like the vocation that you've chosen at that point or not, you have a vocation. When you graduate from Lowell High, Tewksbury, whatever, you have no, unless you're innovative and business oriented and have the drive to establish your own business.
I think what happens is a lot of the students, they go out and they work, like you can take the Pear family, they went on and did forms while they were at the high school, so they actually did manual labor stuff, so it engages. But again, they're just different types of learning, and trying to bring a trade school into a traditional high school is insane to me to think, and I get it. You get 4 or 5 offerings in a traditional high school. Every single kid in there is going to want them because they get out of academia for a week. It's not that you're falling in love with it. It's because I don't want to be over here, so now I can use my energy over here. It's not. You get 23 different trades to choose from in a school versus you only have 4 or 5 and you got 3,000 people.
And regardless, when you graduate at 18 or whatever, you're going to be making more an hour out of the voc than you are when you graduate from a public high school.
With
That's
no
the whole-
learning in personal finance.
Right.
So
Well,
you
that-
go right out
Well,
and you get,
that's not true. That's not true at Greater Lowell.
oh really? How much personal finance
It's built
do you-
into the curriculum
Yes.
of their shops. So when they go out there, like Greater Lowell brings in my car to be fixed at the
No,
shop.
the question is, how much personal finance do they get?
But
I'm
what he's
trying to
saying,
explain it to you if you give me a minute. So
I
bring
know.
my
I don't want
vehicle-
the shot. I want the short version of the story.
They get it during their work when they do their shops. When outside people come in, they have to actually adjust the monies in and see what it costs, where it's going, how it gets to the place it's going to, bill it out, make sure it's there. Now, on the personal finance end, when they're in their shop classes, because you have a related class, you go in there and they teach you the finance to get up and running in companies and stuff like that. So yes, there is.
Do they teach them someday you're going to be an old buckaroo like McDonough and you're going to need retirement?
I don't know if they know that, but they do
Well,
know
they-
that what it's
but
going to
Linda,
cost
they-
to buy a.
They have to. They have to.
Well, that's not, that's,
That's personal finance.
and I agree with you. It needs to be built in, and I agree all the way through that it should start at an earlier age. I went to the Stock Closer School for Civics Day. I went into a class, Miss Gangie's class. Amazing, amazing teacher. A student sits down and they want to ask you about personal finance, and that was the whole discussion: is how do we get DESE to approve this so that it's part of the curriculum? And one of the questions was, Mister, I really would like to know the difference between a debit card and a credit card. I said, oh boy, this is going to be good. And you're like, well, a debit card is actually your money. You're taking it out of your bank account. The other one is someone else's money, and when you take it out, you have to pay a certain percentage if you can't pay it off at the end of the month. And that percentage is so high, you'll never get out of the debt. So if you bought $100 sneakers and you can't pay them off right away, you're paying $120, $140, $160 for that sneaker. As they wear down and they're worth no money, it's costing you more money. And they understood it after a few minutes of talking with them. And I think that is the driver to it. But
Eric, this is the biggest culprit for little kids that get out of high school.
Yep.
And they're making they're making $150,000 a year. They go out and buy themselves a $95,000 Ford 250 because it's cool. And they have a 7-year note on that truck. Go around the back and buy a used one.
7, you get 10 now, John. Imagine you get a 10-year loan on a vehicle.
I didn't know they had
Well,
10 years.
that's
It's
only 2
insane.
semesters though at college.
That's another good point. That's a very good point to the other side.
I mean,
Yeah.
college education has outpriced itself.
Because the government subsidizes it.
John,
Who would lend a kid $200,000 but the federal government? $300,000. You want to be a doctor? They'll give you $500,000.
well, John, when you get 9% on the loan, it's insanity. I have a very close person to me who's going to graduate in August. And they're going to graduate with almost $200,000 in debt with 9%. I go, are you out of your mind? when I bought my home, I paid $100,000 and it was 9%, and I was paying $1,000 a month roughly. It was $900. But I'm like, you're gonna pay that for 30 years, double. So you're at $1,800 a month for 30 years.
Banking is good business.
Wow. And that's where government inflation is. They got to control that. You shouldn't be able to charge a kid over 4 or 5% for that loan.
The bank
But
has quite the lobby.
The default rate is probably extremely high.
Doesn't the Vogue have a bank
Yes.
set up in, so, oh, High doesn't. So the kids, you're talking about, is the Vogue teaching management, money
Personal
management?
finance.
The
market-
public schools have just
marketing
kicked it
is-
right to the curb.
So marketing has Lowell 5 in there. Marketing teaches all that stuff based off of pricing and everything in the industry and stuff, yeah. There's different shops that teach different things. That's why it's such a driver, as
again-
John's saying. How do you get and everybody's included to I would say the ground level.
Most divorces happen because of money. Because, okay, we're so in love. And so we get married, and I have a credit card debt of $250,000. You had no idea. You married me. I owe $250,000 in credit cards. And do you still love me, honey? That's quite the boat anchor to drag around with you.
John, I know you have a son who loves cars like I do, and you know, my wife is a saint on some of the things that I have purchased for vehicles.
She just
through
looks the other
years.
way.
She just will be like, "Why would you do that again?" And I go, "I have no idea, but I like it."
What are you driving now?
I have a Range Rover, yeah. But a friend of mine owned it. It had 40,000 miles on it. It's 10 years old, well, 9 years old, and he just gave me such a good deal. I couldn't turn away. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll buy it.
Yeah, they're nice cars.
I drove it when it was brand new, and I loved it. He goes, "Oh, you got to take this thing for a ride." So I took it for a ride, and I was like, "Wow, this thing is really nice." And then, you know, a few years, just last August or something, he came up and said, "Hey, I want to give you the deal of a lifetime on that vehicle. I know how much you like that vehicle." And I'm like, "I don't need a vehicle." And then when he said the price, I was like, "I need a vehicle." And my wife is like, "You are crazy."
No, the Land Rovers especially, way overpriced to be brand spanking new.
Yeah.
And resale, it's terrible. The
John-
resale on a Land Rover is terrible.
40,000 miles on it. He paid $110,000 for it. 40,000 miles on it. 8 years later, 20 grand.
That's what it's worth.
40,000 miles.
That's what it's
Thing-
worth.
I'm like, this is insanity.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it really drinks a lot of gas. That's my only downside to it.
But it's quite the toy.
It is fun
If
to
you
drive.
take it, my son Joe, he's got one. It's relatively new. I think it was 2 years old when he got it, and he drove it out to Utah, and he goes climbing up mountains with us.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, my neighbor wants to buy it from me, and I just said to him, I'll be selling it soon. Don't worry about it. You know, but he really, because that's what he wants to do with this thing, and I'm like, what? It's not made for that. I mean, I like to just drive it because it's comfortable.
The videos I see of him climbing up a mountain with this truck, and they're holy muckmire. There's no way I would even try that, but he does.
We went to Norwich to watch my son coach the other day, and we're in the driveway and we're getting ready to leave. And I say to my wife, I say, "We're going to take the RAV4, right?" Because she has a RAV4 hybrid, right? And it doesn't drink gas at all. Like, you can go almost a month with no gas in this
Yeah,
thing.
good stuff.
So I'm like, "We're taking your car, right?" And she's like, "What?" I said, yeah, we're in your car. So we drove her car because of gas. And this thing sits more than it gets driven because of that reason. But, yeah, it is nice to drive, though.
But going back to the personal finance, and we'll go back to Desi. Desi is the one that wanted to change all the academics as far as the maths. The maths were always in the vocational schools, were geared to the businesses and how to run them. And they said, oh, no, you have to learn math that these children are never going to use.
I have an engineering degree because of that whole math setup it used to be. I went to Greater Lowell, obviously, and I get to be the commencement speaker next week, and which I'm stressing about because I don't know what to say to kids. You know, you're like, okay, I got to figure out this whole commencement speech. But when I was there, we took machine math because I was in a machine shop. So that was my math class, was machine math. Hundreds of thousands and moving things this way and that way. And I never took algebra or calculus or any of that stuff. And fast forward, I take a placement exam to get into Northern Essex, and they put me in some beginner algebra class. And about 2 classes in, I'm already done the whole syllabus. And the guy's like, how did you do that if you never took this class before? I go, once you showed me just a little bit about X and Y's and moving things, that's what we basically did, but it wasn't taught the way that you're teaching it. And I never got less than an A in any of those classes. And it was based off of the fundamental teachings of machine math. And I think if you could go back and get those guys to teach that math, you could do almost anything. And I don't know why we changed out to go to something that they'll probably never use in their lifetime. But, trigonometry is, something that Desi says you need to know, so the kids learn trig.
One size fits all for everybody, and it
Because they've never been in a trade. Now,
That's
I
right.
would love to go up to Desi and ask, okay, Pedro Martinez is in charge of it right now. Have you ever been in do you have a vocational education? Does anybody in here have a vocational education? And see, because you need a balance in these decision making, and most of the people probably there, and I don't know the answer, but are probably from academia. Which I'm not saying, trade school is not academia, because it really has risen to a place that people
No, but
want to
if you're saying, when you talk about your math, and I think that's a good example, because, again, you talk about personal finance, just learning a math that deals with the subject that you're learning, whether it's machines or automotive or anything that the trades, can be applied to personal finance.
Correct.
Algebra can't. How
I
do
guess
you
if we're
put
trying to
trade?
define how much gas is going to be used to go to Norwich, Connecticut, we can use it.
Yeah, but technology has taken away the need for young students to understand stuff. I remember asking my granddaughter Morgan, Morgan, can you turn on the text where they talk, closed caption? Can you turn it on? And she says, yeah. So I said, well, what do you get? Give me the remote. Okay, give her the remote. She says, turn on closed caption. She presses the button, turn on closed caption, and it's on. She didn't have to scroll through any menus or nothing, but just shows you what a dummy I was and how smart she is.
I think
Karen,
that's the
you look
important
marvelous.
thing.
Nice to see
Yeah.
you.
I think the important thing is each generation has their way of doing things, and we're very, very different. We would feel and learn that way. They need to be told how to do something to do it. Where we would pick this pen up and take it apart, and the spring would go flying, and then we go, oh, okay, next time I gotta take it apart slow. They would have to be told, take that apart slow because the spring is gonna. We were like, oh, what is this thing? And then you'd be like, oh, get that spring. And today's generation is more like, how do we take this apart? Oh, there's a spring in it. Wow. We didn't care about that. Spring would pop you in the eye. You'd be like, you can't see. And you're like, okay. But today, we are so fear of failure that we tell kids how to do everything.
Hey, Karen
Everything's
Cassella's
on
here.
there.
She
Yeah.
brought some. Karen, what did you bring? What treat did you bring for us to eat today?
Oh, my.
Coffee cake muffins.
Coffee cake muffin. So we're gonna have a nice long break. We'll be back. Thanks.
An amazing
Did you
baking.
make that?
Oh,
Yes.
the cookie she made. Welcome to City Life. I'm Linda Bown. I'm your host. I have Mayor Erik Gitschier. We've been talking about voc education and the budget. Now Karen Cassella has joined us, Register of Deeds, and we were just talking about the program of consumer protection.
Yep, consumer notification. So it is a free program that we have
Just
on our
drag that mic a
website.
little closer to you.
Sure.
Thanks.
It's you just have to go on to massrods.com. You go on to hit on Middlesex North, scroll to the bottom, and you can fill out the form right on the website, and that will protect you from if there's any fraud, anything recorded against your property. It generates that email, so you'll be aware of anything recorded at the registry against your property. And you can register up to 3 properties. So if you have multiple, you could do all 3. So it's definitely worth it. We just experienced some fraudulent deeds in other counties that were recorded yesterday. So it's happening. So don't hesitate. Go get on that website and fill it out. If you don't know how, you can't figure it out, give us a call in the office and we can walk you through.
And it's free.
It's free, that's right.
That's just amazing because
Yeah.
people are paying for this service.
They do. Well,
They didn't know.
and I mean, there used to be a company that used to send out, if you want a copy of your deed, it's $65, a certified copy. You would be amazed how many people were paying $65 for a certified copy of their deed when it was free if they just walked into our office. Because they sent it to our office, their package.
That's called
so
good
we could
PR.
we could fill their request for, I think it was $3 a certified copy, and they were making $65. So, but
Yeah. I just, every time she comes on, I'm always amazed
yeah.
at what you're doing over there.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's really, and then we have, next week we're going to meet with the FBI because they're really getting involved now. There's just a lot of fraud out there. So,
On every
establishing
level,
that
isn't it?
connection. Huh?
On every level.
I know.
It's, I think finally people are realizing it. They're realizing in government, they're realizing in,
Right.
It's just overwhelming when you hear the figures in government. It's just,
That's for sure.
and we were talking earlier about the costs of things. It's absurd. I mean, if you hire a contractor and they say it's going to cost $100,000 to do your roof, it's going to cost $100,000. They're not going to come back with a change order.
Right.
And it's like everybody expects change orders in government.
Right.
It's just,
But couldn't
talk
they,
about
I
the
always say
school.
though, couldn't they put language in that contract that states not to exceed X amount of dollars? Anything more, we're not paying for. I don't know how that works.
They can do it, but the problem is that then they jack up their estimates.
Right.
That's what they do. So anytime you put something in it, they jack it up to cover whatever they think is off. They do it a lot for us.
I'm not hearing you too good.
Better?
Yeah, thanks.
So I didn't really let you talk about the budget much on the first hour. You passed the budget. Any positions cut?
No.
Ah,
Well, we cut them
yeah.
going into the
You
budget.
mean
the
this
manager
week?
did.
You mean over the last month, how many positions got cut?
Well, I mean, it depends on who you ask.
Well, are
There's
they-
60?
Well, I'm
Okay.
asking you.
There's 60.
60?
60 were cut?
Yeah, well, some weren't
Okay.
included, some were, but yes, when you look at, like, the police department, there were some that weren't filled, so they just cut them off.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
So there's 60 altogether roughly. And the problem comes down to now you're seeing the human element of it, where people now are on a council floor lobbying to get back certain positions, where if I'm one of the positions you're not lobbying for, I guess I didn't make the phone call to you because I felt as though my job was valued enough. So that's where it comes into the play across who knows who, why is this, why is that, and every person. Superintendent Skinner said something very, very interesting when the school department budget was there. Every person whose position was cut can say, why they're needed. And they were coming up to the mic and doing that. And it's the same thing on the city side. Every person who comes in can say why they're needed. And, they'll go to the people on the council that they think can push that direction. Like we cut the historic preservation person. We only have one in the city who does all of that, so it's kind of like, okay, did we give up on that? We cut a homeless coordinator, the director. Do we now have no homeless? We cut one of the needle people who pick up the needles. Do we no longer have needles? So those are the things that...
On the homeless, now, you have, 74 nonprofits. Surely somebody else handles that.
There's a lot of overlap.
Well, it
But
is.
nonprofits,
So why would you need it in the city side if you've got all these nonprofits that are supposedly handling that?
it depends on what their grant outline is, so that they get grant outlines for the nonprofits. They don't have to do anything.
No,
It's
they
up
don't.
to
Do they
them.
have to come up with any? Do they have to show any results?
We don't know that because the grants don't come from us. And
Okay.
some of them did, like maybe some of the ARPA ones did, but there wasn't like a outcome attachment to it. It was more so to help them through an issue.
Well,
And
that was a
that's-
little different.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean that.
like if the food bank and those things, you're giving money to them so that they can give their food, and they give stats when they get their money. They put in an application, but to answer your question, there's nothing directly tying them to making sure that they're picking up needles.
Right, right. Well,
So-
there's definitely tons of needles in this city on the ground.
So are they in fact picking up the? Well, that's
Why
what
are
I'm
we
saying.
giving them away? Who's giving them away, and why are they doing
Well,
this?
they're saying because of and Linda knows more
And who are
about
the they?
diseases.
Who are
Yeah.
the they? We should contact
The
their board
health
of
department.
directors, and they have to pick them up.
The
No,
health
it
department.
goes back to the state
You know,
mandating
outside of
free
every gas
needles.
station, outside of every single gas station, there's a littering of scratch tickets on the ground. The gas station, believe it or not, goes and picks those up.
Mm-hmm.
If you're giving out needles, you should have to go pick them up. Simple.
No, I agree. I mean,
It sounds so
dangerous.
simple
I
in
know.
theory.
I know. It's
In
just-
theory, it's really a good theory.
You just find them.
Find who, the homeless person?
You
Oh,
find the people who
well-
are giving the needles away.
The problem is, again, we're going to go back to the same thing about
So
the
you're saying
housing
you can't,
issue.
it can't be done, huh? Okay.
Well, the housing issue is the same way, right? Okay,
No,
we
no, I'm
pay
talking
to
about the
subsidize
needle.
housing now.
I'm talking about the needles. Right now,
right.
let's
So the
not
needles-
change tires here.
We
The
s-
needles.
We pay for the needles. The state pays for the needles.
Who's giving them out?
There's a couple of different.
And they have to pick them up.
Well, now
They're
let's.
getting the money from the state to hand them out. So you're going to find a person who's getting the money from the state to hand them out.
John, the legislature passes legislation.
Put your wonderful manager on that and have them pick up their own needles. Well, if Frank and Ernie's doesn't pick up the scratch tickets outside of his store, what happens? The city shows up and says, hey.
No, they blow over to the canal and we go pick them up. If you
No,
come
Frank
around,
and Ernie's is
we
not
get,
near
I
the
can
canal.
show you
Frank and
hundreds
Ernie's
of
is not near the
places
canal.
where there
You
are
can make excuses all you want.
scratch-off tickets that came from a gas station that are along the river. Or I can show you McDonald's bags that are along the river that McDonald's don't pick up. Yes, if it's on their defined property, they'll pick it up. But if it's outside their defined property, no, it's on the road. So I guess if it's within where they hand out the needles and it's their property, they'll pick them up. But if it's outside of there, like McDonald's
You
and
make
Burger
a good
King,
point,
Well,
Eric, but
because-
still, why should the government have to pick them up?
Because the government came up with a bloody law to mandate that you give them to them. That's
guess
why.
the
They come up
government's
with
giving
these
them the money, so-
ridiculous legislation, and then they say, they throw it out there,
Right.
they pat themselves on the back and say, look at us, we're protecting them from diseases, from anything. No, they're not, because they're selling the bloody needles to get their drugs. I mean, the whole thing is so ridiculous.
the
There was-
exchange program's the tough part.
no, there was one needle that was literally on the ground and it was full. It looked like there was blood or something in there. I was like, I mean,
Well, you work at the courthouse. How many are over there?
a lot.
And how many police officers do we have over there? And how many cameras do we have over there? And they can't even figure it out. Do they want to figure it out, or do they just?
Right.
That's the thing. Around the police station, around.
Just keep passing that legislation that costs the taxpayers, and they don't make anybody accountable. They come
Well,
up with
that's
a program. We're going to provide free needles. Now, down there, they come up with they can't possibly handle it, so they have to dole it out to a bunch of nonprofits that have to have a committee to study it, that have to have an administrative group to control it, and there it goes, and then the needles are on the ground, because they don't even think ahead that, oh, well, how are we gonna pick up the needles?
I'm going to
Shouldn't
walk.
that be covered?
I'm going to walk John's property, and if I find anything from McDonald's, I'm going to ask him why he's not calling McDonald's. If I find anything from the school across the street, I'm going to ask him, how come they're not picking up your
It's
property?
my property, I pick it up.
You do, I know. And it's the city's property, all the public open space.
And we do all the sidewalks around the
I know
property.
you do. It's beautiful.
It's not
It's good.
hard, it's just part of the job. We cut the grass at the Rogers School when they forget to do it. So,
Yesterday I walked by City Hall, and one side of the grass is all nice and cut and it's all trimmed. The other side isn't, so I asked somebody, I said, I got to ask a stupid question. Why is the library piece and City Hall piece done and the police isn't? Well, the custodian from City Hall got to take these 3 pieces of grass. The one from the library has these 2 pieces of grass, and the custodian from the police have these 2 pieces of grass. Now I'm shaking my head. I'm like, okay, now this sounds very efficient. Each person comes out on whatever day they want and they cut it. It is never all the same length at any time. Does that make any sense? And I just looked, I shook my head and go, oh boy. And this is what they do to each other. They eat each other. You know, I'm not supposed to touch Karen's coffee.
Yeah.
You know, but it would be helpful if she
Right.
forgot it when she left to just put it in the barrel. You got the lawnmower out there, cut the lawn.
Right, right.
Well, look at you've had that whole issue with the school and the city, but the buildings are owned by the city, the schools are owned by the city, and who's gonna do the light bulb or whatever? Oh, well, I'm not in that union.
Eric
That's
put it
their
well
job
earlier,
description.
let's screw the government.
That's it.
Got this comment from the audience, Linda?
State had to form a committee to change the state flag because it offended Native Americans. 2 years later, the committee was disbanded because they realized there were no American Indians on the panel. The state is famous for having people make rules about things they have no idea about. Eric is right. Vote for the person who has the experience, not the one that wears the fancy suits.
I had to buy some fancy suits because I got to go to Lowell High tonight's graduation, and then I got Greater Lowell's, and I'm like, uh-oh, I better go get a fancy suit to be able to wear, so
Well, you have to have a fancy suit when you do the commencement speech.
that's it. So I did. I went and I spent, you know, my wife's going to kill me when I went and bought what I bought, and she's like, why would you do that? You can go up to Men's Warehouse. I go, yeah, I know, I get it.
Right. They are expensive.
They're very expensive.
Yes.
And Jimmy knows better than anybody being down there, and you have to wear them all the time. So it's, you know, and men don't have the same issues that women have with clothes, because most of us, like in my world, we don't really care that much about
You
it.
don't notice if he's had the
You
same
don't
suit
care that
on 2
much about
days
it,
that
yeah.
week. No.
But women are
Right.
totally different. They're like, it's
We need a
interesting.
new outfit
Yeah.
every time there's a
Yeah.
party we have to go.
Yeah, we got to go
right?
shopping. I go, huh? Shopping? I haven't been there in 20 years.
And when did I wear this last? Did I wear it to
Right.
the same place? Oh, no.
I can get another
know,
day
right?
out of this shirt.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you, John.
Yeah.
And you know, when you look at this city, it's a very interesting place because a lot of the inflation is due to the government pushing it and the expenditures that go on. And when you give something out free, I want to say it again to everybody, it's called inflation.
Right.
It comes from somewhere, and it comes out of you. And you're looking at it at the federal level. We gave out all that ARPA money. We gave out everything. Here's the inflation piece. We're giving money over here. We're starting wars, and we're doing all these things. That's called inflation. And, yeah, you have jobs, but if you don't have more jobs that can sustain an economy, you've got inflation. And we don't have the jobs we need to have to push down. I think Norwich, Connecticut just came out yesterday. I met the mayor when I went to Norwich. He had come over and we had an interesting conversation, and they actually lowered taxes. I was like, wow.
In Connecticut?
In Norwich, Connecticut, yeah. Yeah, their tax rate went down.
And how did they do that?
That's a great question. I'm still trying to ask him that question.
Right.
Eric,
tell you-
I'm going to ask you about a hiring freeze because I
Yeah.
think that's the only way we're going to get out of this.
Yep.
Yeah, Linda, you want to read this one?
In Lowell, you can report the exact location using the City of Lowell 311
Talk about needles.
Oh.
or
Let's talk
call
about
the
needles.
syringe collection program at 978-6 741049 during business hours. For after-hours emergencies, you can contact the Lowell Police.
Thank you for that.
I
think it's
did
important.
not know that.
I think it's
Yes.
important that we do that. The 311, you get mixed reviews on a lot of times, and I think we're trying to work through whatever bugs it is. Some people say they put in something, then it just got deleted without it being
Right,
fixed.
right.
Well, you
Other
need to
people-
establish a committee to study that.
That's the problem, is we have so many committees, we pay so much money for all these geniuses to do things that are simple. If we just had to change the battery in this mic, we'd have to set a committee for it. And when you start looking at some of the stuff and you look at all the costs and everything, that's the driver, is if I can use one person to do three things, why am I not gonna use that one person? But in government, sometimes we hire people because we think that it's overwhelming, and 311 has been very interesting, because someone will say they put something in and maybe they didn't submit, and then they'll call you and say, I put this in 3 times, and then you're calling down there and they're saying, well, it was never submitted.
Right.
And I never say that to a resident. I never get into that.
Oh, but I
back
do
and
that all the
forth.
time with my messages. I forget to
Right,
send it.
I know.
Don't you?
I never get into the back and forth with residents. I just say, they're gonna take care of it.
Oh, but
Thank
we
you.
all do that. I mean,
'Cause
makes sense.
I don't wanna say, well, this person said you didn't put it in, can you send me this? It just gets, but if you're gonna send something to a counselor or someone and
send.
you did put it in, there's a number that you get, just take a picture of it and send that with it, so they have the ticket
Ah,
number that they
yeah.
can
Oh, that's
say,
a good
it
idea.
was submitted, here's when it was submitted, can you help them out?
Well,
I
I've
think
never-
that's,
I never called 311.
yeah.
But-
You could take a picture of the submittal, it gives a ticket number.
I should when
just-
I almost lose a tire sometimes,
know.
when I fall into a pothole that,
No,
I was walking in downtown, just on Middle Street, and there's a apron that is all broken up, and I was on my phone, and I was walking, and boom, I'm like, oh man, that hurt. I look down, and all the concrete's away, so I take a picture and I send it over to them. I'm like, do I need to put this in 311? And he came back, he said, that's getting changed in the next couple weeks, so
Oh,
don't
all
worry
right.
about it.
so explain 311.
Wait 1 second, Lynn. What do we got here today, Karen?
it's a coffee cake muffin.
It's delicious.
She makes wonderful things.
Oh my God, out of this world.
She can come in every week. No, could you just explain 311? What exactly does that entail?
311 is an app, so if you have an issue in a neighborhood or anything's going on, there's different categories where you can pick what you're doing. If it's trash, if it's potholes, if it's, a loud neighbor or anything like a loud neighbor, you would probably call the police right away. But if there's any noise disturbances like that, you can put them in there. So you're documenting everything, and now it gets sent into a database where they have 2 people down there that review these and send them. They automatically go to the departments, and then they track everything that goes on to see, how quickly it can get done. In the old days, you would call a department and a person would just, write a hand note or pick up the phone and call somebody, and a lot of things weren't tracked so that you could say they actually were being done. Now they have a tracking system that tells you what each department actually does, outside of their normal everyday assignments. If there's asphalt, how much did you put, where did you go, and it will outline everything for you based off of residence.
Now, I'm in Lowell, I call 311. Now, does it tell me where to go to report specific things, different departments?
We don't call 311, it's an app on your phone.
You
So
can't
you
call
get an
it.
app and you put
So
it
if
on
you-
an app and you
Oh.
put it in that way.
Oh, I thought it
Yeah.
was something you could
No,
call.
it's an app,
Like,
yeah. 311's an app, so it's, I think I have it on my phone.
Okay, so,
somewhere.
all right, so
another
I'm...
app, does it have to have a password and a,
You have to create your account to go in and do
Oh,
that.
no.
And then
Another
sometimes the
password.
account has to
Yeah.
be rebooted
another
to get to
username,
it.
another
Yeah.
password?
Yeah, that's the hard part. I can't remember them all of them,
I
so I'm
know.
always
No.
resetting it.
Oh, I know.
passwords,
That's,
and then they
that's
make
the
you reset.
Lowellian. Who sent this? Who sent? It's all about who
Yeah.
in Lowell.
Oh yeah, you're right, and it does track who sent it in, like John's just saying to you. So it'll
Right.
track who the person is who's.
But on your little app, and you hit 311, now, I assume something comes
I
up.
think that's the name of the app,
It's the
right?
name of the app, yeah.
311, so you get that on your, and you just hit the app, and it must,
So then it must have categories. I want to go to needles, I want to go to trash, I want to go to
Yes.
a broken water pipe.
So it looks like the city of Lowell, and you click it on like that, and then it will come up, and that's what it does. It
Oh,
says
there it is.
311 latest app, and then report issues,
pay
pay
your
your
bill.
bills. You can do.
Oh, my
You can do
God.
multiple things.
So they can pay their taxes right there. They
Yeah.
don't have to worry about that
As
lien
they're
getting
complaining about the
recorded.
pothole, you can pay your taxes.
No kidding. So
you
just
go,
like,
if you
just
went
like,
to report an issue, then you go air quality, ask the department a general question, broken recycling cart, broken trash carts. You can go all the way down
Oh, wow.
and pick one that you want, and then city clerk's office, city auditor's office, city flag and flagpole, commission, mayor's office. All of it's all in.
what about the bikes? You got new bikes, huh?
We did.
We're trying it again, are we?
Okay.
Now they're
Come on.
different than the old.
All right.
Times change. Times
Okay.
change, and the city did not pay a penny for
We
this.
still have those blue bikes in Tingsboro, I think. Right?
Do you?
They're ours.
They might have floated down the river. No, they can't float up the river. Let me think about that for a minute. But no, a company came in and wants to put an investment in, and it's $1. So you go over. Here's that app thing. You create an app, so you have to put a credit card or something on hold, and you rent these things, and you can ride the bike. Like if you're going to the courthouse and you're from Boston, you come down, you can swipe in, boom, use the bike, ride over the
So where
courthouse.
are they located?
Right.
At the train station.
Oh, all right.
All of them?
All of them right now. They're looking for different locations to put them, like maybe City Hall or other places. But right now, they have another one that's going to come. We're just trying to figure out a location. I
They should
thought
park
the
them
university
outside
would
the
be cool.
courthouse
Yeah, there's another one, the courthouse.
when they're trying to get out quick.
Yeah, they can. They move pretty good. And the one complaint that came out of that whole thing was that I wasn't wearing a helmet.
Oh.
Oh.
And I said I
Oh,
didn't
do
even.
they have to wear a helmet if they rent a bike?
There's no helmets with
I was
them.
just gonna say, how would you? You'd have to carry one
Yeah,
with you if you
right.
wanted to.
There's no helmet.
Right.
I don't know. That was one of the complaints.
Is
about
that a
it.
law in Massachusetts that you have to wear a helmet?
on a
There's
bike?
laws for everything.
Right.
They don't have a law that you have to wear a helmet?
No, if you're under a certain age, I believe.
No, there should be a law though about electric bikes
Well, yes.
on sidewalks.
Yes,
That's
yes.
ridiculous.
And nobody's gotten ahead of the electric
know.
bikes.
No.
They're driving down the middle of the road.
Right.
They're in the sidewalks. They're all wearing black. They're like ninjas.
Exactly.
It's frightening. They come out of nowhere.
I love how the world changes.
Right.
Yes, it
If
does.
you would have thought of an electric bike when we were kids, everyone would have laughed at you.
I
Said,
know.
What, an electric
I know.
bike?
Well, they start with the scooters. And
We were
then,
told to pedal the bike.
yes.
We were told get exercise. Here, kid, you take the bike, get exercise, go. Now it's electric, everything. Yeah.
Right. Actually, one of my coworkers, he had it when the scooters first came out during like COVID, I think. Then he bought one and he was using it, and then he ended up getting hit by a car in Lowell.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that. He won't use it again. But he had two of them. He loved them. But
Yeah.
it's so dangerous in the city.
Well, it is because there are no regs, but there are no regs for bikes either. They
Right.
go zooming. Aren't they supposed to go by the same laws and
One would think you can get them
Motor
to go up
vehicle.
to 70 miles an hour.
Right.
They go pretty good. They're pretty fast.
yeah, I'm surprised there aren't more accidents actually.
Right.
So-
I know.
Kids love these things.
Well-
It brings adventure. It gets that side of a kid to be a kid. You do
But
something.
I don't
stupid
even know
in
that
life.
kids are using them.
I think you're right. It's the
adults.
25-year-olds and up. You're
No.
seeing people pulling
Right.
wheelies on dirt bikes, and I'm looking at
There
them.
was
and
two
they're
just the
full
other day. I'm
adults.
like, okay, are you done with this Papa Wheelie
Yeah.
so I can go home?
around, yeah.
Like they're in front of my car,
Well,
you
yeah.
know?
I was
It's
just
like,
gonna
I just
ask.
want to go home.
Is this? I know you were having a problem with them on the roads. Is that under control a little
It's
more?
always going to be a work in progress. It's never going to be under control at this time. It's a work in progress. I think that the Lowell police have done an amazing job at working with them and trying to get all these things. And yeah, it takes time. You're not going to get right to the person, but they have done a really, really good job. It hasn't been warm yet, so we'll find out this week because this is the warm weather week. So you'll know. And tonight, tomorrow night, this weekend, you'll know.
What do you think when you first got on the council and you started coming on? And I know one of your big issues was the roads and how the roads were being maintained to prevent repairs. What do you think is the biggest issues of the city now?
I think those are always going to be the issues in how we hold contractors responsible for the work they do in our city. when they rip up our roads, and realistically, to me, if you rip up a road that's under 5 years old, you should own that patch till that road gets ground down and replaced. Certain things, like you look on Middlesex Street, if you drove down by the Mobile in front of where UMass Lowell has their little garage there, there's a trench that's older than most of the repairs on the road. And it was done by the gas company. And it is the worst part of the road. And it's just, why should people be able to come in, wreck your property, and not have to maintain it till you replace the road?
Hey, Eric, speaking of holes,
Well, maybe
is the water department fixing their own problems now, or are we still outsourcing?
Yes. There's zero monies in their contractual services this year for road repairs. So yes,
Good.
they went from $800,000 down to, like, they put $50,000 into their overtime account. So it's been a massive reduction.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Which is good. They changed over. That's what that whole thing last night was. That's where I made my mistake, with they combined the departments. And that really has made a major difference in the outcome out there.
So what do you do with the utility companies? Because they're the biggest culprit.
It's a state oversight that kills us. That Department of Public Safety is the worst in the country. You want to see why your electric bills are high. You want to see why the gas company can run just amok, and that's what they do. They always rely back. Well, the Department of Public Safety. Well, tell the Department of Public Safety to come down and give us our money then, or you fix it yourself. Markouts were a thing when I was at the water department, that we had in an ordinance that every person who asked for a markout was a $50 charge, because we have to send over a truck, a person, and they have to mark it out. So there's time involved. There's a cost. The only people who were getting away with no charge was the gas company, and they were doing hundreds of markouts a day. So I pushed against it, saying no, and they leaned back on the Department of Public Safety says. I said, I don't care what the Department of Public Safety says. I adhere to the city council and to the city manager, and under that ordinance, it says you get charged. It ended up going to the city manager, back and forth, fights, and they gave us a piece of property for some of the stuff that they didn't pay for or something. And at the end of the day, I don't know if they're still paying for it or not, but they should be. If you're taking a resource from me, it's costing me money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to pay me. They don't give the city of Lowell free electricity in the schools. They don't give us free
Right,
electricity in anything. So why should my resource be free to you? And that's where the problem is, and we're still in that dogfight. And I should ask that question now that you guys refreshed my memory on it. But it's a true statement. Why should we have to subsidize when they charge us everything that they get to charge?
Right.
And I think that's fair, and it's back and forth on that. But we'll see, because that Department of Public Safety, they lean on them. They say, because I don't want to say what I'm really thinking, but again, it's an organization that is very heavily involved with certain utility companies. We'll leave it at that, and you can let your mind wander, but I think that there may be some changeover needed there, and people have to represent government more than they represent the
That's
private
right.
sector.
That's
And I
right.
think that that's the problem, and when you look at it, they get away with whatever they want. They
Well, who
just,
appoints the DPU?
the governor.
Oh,
But it was appointed long. It was long before this governor.
yeah.
It was right through the Baker, right through the Weld, right through all of them. You look, and it's
Well, that's
just.
low in their interest. Maybe if you.
It might be
stuck with
high on
it-
their interest. I don't know what. I don't know what the.
Oh, right.
I don't know the backside of the politics to
right.
it. It may be a very cushy gig.
I'm
I don't
sure.
know, and it may
I'm
not
sure
be. I
it
don't
is.
know.
I'm sure it is, because anybody out there that's had to go before the DPU on rates or anything like that, it's
We always lose as a taxpayer. We always lose as residents.
absolutely
Look, so who do they represent?
Right.
I don't
because
know.
because they're the attorney for the DPU. It used to be Tom Joyce. Used to be the attorney for many of the politicians.
And you look at, like, we're gonna save
One of
you
the
some.
biggest lobbyists in the country.
We're gonna save you some money in your winter bills, but we're gonna charge it back to you in the summer, and we're gonna cause interest on that. What?
Right.
You didn't save me anything. You just took my money and put interest on it.
Yeah.
Which that's insane.
Well, this nonsense that they did in Massachusetts, where they said we're going to cut, at least this past year, we're going to cut, lower your electric bill
Right.
for certain months, and then you're going to pay interest on it.
That's what I was getting
Yeah.
at without saying that. But you think about it, and then people are like, wow,
has the
yeah, you
nerve?
lowered my bill. Well, you can do that through your bill history at the company anyway. You could just spread out your 12
Right,
month
right,
payment.
exactly.
So, and without the interest. So why would you do that and get charged interest on it? So you just got not only taken in the winter,
You
but you
had
get
no
taken
choice.
again. You get taken
Had no
twice.
choice.
And I had no choice. So you took my
But
money.
why are
and-
we paying for any of the electric? Like, it looks like on your bill, you pay for, the electric charge for this. It's like,
The delivery charges are.
You have an electric and the usage.
I don't have, right, but I don't even have an electric car. I don't have solar panels, but it looks, I
Oh,
called
yes,
them
you're
about
paying.
it.
Yeah.
Try to read
Oh,
that
yeah.
electric bill.
Yeah.
On all the things you're paying for.
She agreed with me on the, at the electric company. When I said, why would I be paying for this? I don't have that. She goes, I agree, but,
They're allowed.
yeah,
It's because your state legislators voted that into law.
ridiculous.
So, it's a state. I'm going to mention it again. It's a state election year. Think
Right.
about it. You can make some changes if you want to. Because I think there
Exactly.
will be some candidates out there.
You have people running around, even in these state rep races, running around carrying the torch. And you're looking, going, okay, so how do we do the things that you're saying you want to do? And they don't have a clue, but they're following another elected officials, this elected official, to get their platform. Your platform should never be, I know so-and-so, so vote for me.
Right.
How about you walk to a door and try to say what your platform is and
Yeah.
stick to your platform? Not, oh, I took a picture with so-and-so and this and that. And that's always really, and you saw it in your race. You had a list of 40 people who all took a picture with somebody, and that was the experience versus 32 years of experience.
Yeah.
And you look at people and you say, okay, so we're going to give up on an employee who's been here this long for someone who took pictures with certain people.
Right.
And now they bring them in to talk at events. And
We'll come
it's
back
just-
to Sakari in a minute.
Recent layoffs in the city of Lowell. Who decided which employees got cut? I hear if you are connected, you got to stay. Does not found.
not-
That does not.
I guess
found
that
it.
word is sound, but that's okay.
The city manager and the department heads, I am told, had choices to make, and they made those choices. The city council does not. That's an operations side, not the policy side of the house. So that would be the city manager has all final say in all of that. But he would lean on his department heads. But I don't know the final answer to that.
It used to be last in, first out. Is that no longer?
Depending
now
on the
it's
position.
no. If you're connected, you get to stay.
Well, that's what I was saying that because if someone had 25 years and then the other person had 13, how would that 25-year veteran employee lose their job over that?
They're
I
saying
mean, granted, I know different titles, right?
no, they were the same title. They're the same title, same office. They're saying that because of the way the contract was written in that union,
Yeah.
they don't really have bumping rights, which I was a part of that union. I call BS on the whole thing. I would take it anywhere they want because it already won in 96. They won one. In 2008, it won one. But times do change, and you got to update some of the language. But when you look at it, you're hearing people say in the public, oh, this one's older than this one's that one's that. Layoffs are for funding reasons only. It is not a disciplinary thing. It is
Right.
not about who's older. It's not about, this is not the private sector where John McDonough owns his company and says, yeah, I like this person better. It's my company. See you later. It is a union shop where we should be doing fundamental things that are right.
Speaking of which, okay, if you want to be on the show, it says right at the bottom here, just call up.
Well,
Sakari Chow. I think he shot himself in the foot during the budget hearing. He sat back as a cowardly lion, didn't say anything against any money whatsoever. And that's not the kind of state rep we want to have down at the State House, in my book. Just because we have a picture together doesn't mean anything. It's just a matter of, I think he shot himself in the foot by not saying a doggone word about cutting money from the budget.
but you mentioned the kids at the Voc, and they're interested. They're interested in how things are. You're seeing that. Well, in Tingsboro, unfortunately, with Colin, and he's come up with that committee and the classes on public service and the committees, and we have now a very young person that just got elected, which I'm very excited about. You've got Sean McDonough that's young. You've got to have that new blood. You've got to have somebody. I mean, I'm sick to death of hearing, oh, we can't challenge the speaker. The speaker runs the state. I'm done with that. Somebody has to start electing people that unseats the speaker. Can't we get any representation?
It's not going to happen. Everybody in the
Don't ever say never.
Everybody in the speaker's district is driving a Cadillac. So how are you going to get him unelected?
It's like they say about a strong mayor. If you know where the votes are, you pave all the roads in that area. and you know, at the end of the day, when we look at the state and you look at everything, you have to challenge it, or you're just you're part of the problem. You're not the solution. So if you want real change and you want people to do things, then you have to have people challenge you. I can like you and still challenge you, and you may hate me in the end, but I still like you. It's not about you. It's about, okay, what's fairness? We just talked about the employee layoff. I could have been silent on that and never said a word. I could have just sat back and said, you know what? But what is right for a person? 26 years of doing something, not any write-ups or anything, and you're let go, and someone who has less time is kept. Whether that contract says that or not, what's right or wrong? What is right or wrong? I don't care what the contract says. What is right or wrong? And it's the same thing. We had a head clerk get let go that had over 30 years. Well, one was just hired within less than a year ago. And they're saying, well, you know, the clerk doesn't really have experience in this other department. I said, wait a minute, stop. When we hire head clerks, there's an entry-level experience. Every single one of them met that because they're hired. Every single one of them went to a unique office where they were trained in that office for a 2-week, 3-week period. That person certainly can be changed over to that place and trained. What happens if that person in the office with less time leaves? We have to take someone in and train them anyway. So let's do the right thing by the layoff. By time in, time and grade, it's a layoff. It is not a termination letter. And that's what they tried to do, is they handed people off the whelm. They just walked in and said, look, you know, Ms. Cassella, we're going to take you down to HR. We're going to lay you off. You walk in, there's a layoff notice, and with it is a separation agreement. You sign the separation agreement, you give up your rights to everything. Union rights, everything. And the union was never given that separation agreement prior to these employees going there. To me, that's an unfair labor practice.
Absolutely.
Well, where are the unions
Absolutely.
then?
The unions are in, but again, you're talking about people who, to some people, they make a lot of money. But to most people, they don't make a lot of money. You're talking a $50,000 or $60,000 a year employee who's been there 30 years. You're making $50,000 to $60,000.
Right.
You're walking in there. They live paycheck to paycheck. Now you're getting laid off. Union comes in. It can take 2 years for this stuff. I remember when they laid off 16 employees at the city of Lowell, and I was the president. We filed an unfair labor practice immediately. These guys got laid off. Richard Gagnon was walking up Gorham Street. He got laid off. A couple months later, went across Gorham Street and got killed. Never got his job back, never anything. If he was working that day, maybe he would have been still alive, maybe not. I don't know. But it takes time for these people to get back their jobs. And in between, a lot of people live mortgage to mortgage, lights to lights, electric bill to electric bill, especially when you're making that kind of money.
Right.
Now you're going to unemployment where you're making less money, and you're beholding to the system. And now we just kicked them out, and you're like, the union takes time. You got to get the hearings, you got to go over, they look into all the information. There's this whole...
Call the labor board.
Yeah, same thing though, they take time.
Right,
And
no,
especially when you have
absolutely, but-
political people, a city, and it's a government agency you call it.
I
And
mean,
that's the problem.
those people, the 30 years or the 25 years, they have pensions that they probably still have those last 5 years are the most valuable to a clerk, head clerk.
Yeah.
So she's instead of going to get, instead of 80% or 75, she's only probably getting 40% at this point, or 50. If she
Right.
was to retire, they could have at least maybe gave her an option to leave. If you were going to lay
Well,
it,
that was a separation agreement.
That's
That
what
was
the
their option to leave.
separation agreement.
That was their whole option to leave. We'll give you 2 weeks pay and
well, not
this and
2
that.
weeks pay, but enough to
when you're not in a
Thousands of
clear,
dollars, right.
you're not in a clear thinking process, and
Right.
you're walking in. Oh no, I just got laid off. My son's in college, or my grandson was just
Right.
born. You're like, whoa, wait a minute here. Here's this. That's not even humane. I get it in the private sector. They do
Right.
that. We are not the private sector. If you want to go to this company that cuts you in the private sector and do that, great. You want to be a car salesman, they'll cut you tomorrow morning. You chose this avenue
Right.
of work because you knew you weren't going to make as much money, and you knew.
For the
I
stability.
always
Right. And the
think about the
benefits.
guy in Lawrence whose warehouse burnt down, Feinstein or whatever, that Aaron, whatever his name was. The place burnt down. He did jackets and stuff. He kept all those employees on his payroll and went bankrupt in the end, but he understood humanity over himself, and that's what we look at. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't get laid off. I'm
Right.
saying the last one in should be the first to go in
Exactly.
that position. I'm not saying if you were hired as a police officer, you should go before someone else because you were the last one hired in the city payroll.
No.
I'm saying
Right,
if you're
right.
going to pick a position and that position has other people within it in that same job title, it should go by seniority. And
Absolutely.
there are two clear pieces. One was a senior accountant in the treasurer's office, and one is a head clerk in the veterans. Head clerks, there's 27 of them, and she's number 3 on the seniority list. So she should have the right to bump. She should have never got that layoff
Right,
notice.
exactly.
It should have been, we are taking you and putting you in this department as of this day, because that person would be the one.
Okay, anybody listening, who do they complain to? I mean, I think anybody listening would agree with you. That's
No,
when
people,
did that
not
become?
everybody agrees. Some
I don't
people
understand.
think, it's survival of the fittest.
No.
Department heads should be able to get to pick who they want based off of work production, everything. If anybody knows anything
in a
about the
union.
city of Lowell, if anyone knows anything about the city of Lowell, it's never been about production. It's never been about that
No,
stuff.
and it
It's
still
been
isn't.
about who knows what and who knows where they're going, and
Who knows who?
you can say it. And it's not, and if you look at those lists, I promise you'll see some things that you'll go, wow. It's not fair treatment to a person, because I will tell you, as God is my judge, I've been doing this for 37 years. The one who has the most power politically usually is the last one who came in the door, or the department head, because they make the decisions. So the last one who came in the door obviously knew somebody to get in the door.
Okay.
Right? So if you've been their longtime employee for 20 years, 25 plus years, Bud
What?
Caulfield is no longer in power,
Oh,
who
my
got you your
God.
position. So you now are surviving on, I've been here, I've worked here, I've done everything you've said, and there's a human element to it. And I'm not saying it's just the city of Lowell, it's a lot of places in government, and we need to stand strong by people or people. And these people put in this time, and that's what we look at. When Karen ran for registered deed, first thing she put is her experience. Look,
Yes.
I done this, I know that.
But,
And the voters went with her saying, you are absolutely right. You are the right person for the position, not based off of who you know.
it wasn't personal. It was about
It's getting personal.
experience.
It's
it
getting
should have been
personal.
about the fact, and that was exactly it. She had the best experience. It didn't. It isn't whether you like Sakari or not. Like it
Right.
has nothing to do with that. He's a lovely
Exactly.
man. It has to do with experience. And if people have been in there, I
People
just
can't overlook that, Linda, and people are still upset at me over this whole thing.
Well,
How-
plus
I
the
don't
registry of
understand that.
deeds,
I'm
there's
sorry.
no government policy involved, so it is an elected position, but I can't make decisions on any government policies. It's what I know for the registry and what goes on in the office, how we take documents, the standards that we require when we're taking in documents. Nobody else has that experience, but people still were
To-
voting for other people. And even, I can tell you right now, there were counselors pushing for my opponents. So if you're a true person who cares about this city, why wouldn't you want me to be the register of deeds? Why weren't you pushing for me with the experience and not your friend who's going to get you that many votes when you run again?
Because then I can hire my friends if I
Right.
know the person.
Exactly.
And we
So it
create a
becomes-
system where it just continues to eat itself. And
Right.
that's the problem. When I first ran for Greater Lowell Tech, I didn't have any money, and the first thing I did is I printed out a little flyer and I just put my experience. I went to Greater Lowell Tech, I'm a graduate, here's what I did. I went on to do this, 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 and this. And I ran against 2 incumbents. And I was the laughing stock in that race, and we came in number 1 because I truly believe when you go to voters and you write a resume on your flyer, they'll read the resume. When you take pictures and you put them on, I truly believe that now you're in a gray area. I may gain your friends of the person on the picture, but I'm losing the people who don't like them. So that's where you're dividing that whole voter base, and then the other person's not. So I think people should understand how to run elections, and I probably just gave out a secret to it all, but at the end of the day, it should be you and your references.
Right.
And if people want to come support you at a party or something, that's always loved, and it's always loved that people. But at the end of the day, it's your resume, it's you who are going to have your thing on the line, and I promise you this, the day you're not elected, the only person you're going to have left is you, that resume. Those other people who are the hang-ons and all those friends, they're not your friends. They're not going to call you. All those people who wanted something for nothing and weren't about a betterment of a community, they're not calling you. And they just moved on to the next person. And that's the truth. I'm sure Karen's phone rings like crazy now. Everybody's the friend. And she got really an extremely high number, so most of them were the people who voted for her. But it's interesting.
Well, I got 3 for you.
The union representing the senior employees will win the grievance, and the taxpayers will pay the bill. The grievance of 1996 cost the taxpayers over $800,000.
I agree 1,000%.
Me too. I agree with that.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I hope so.
And that got swept under the rug, that $800,000 cost, and it's the saddest
So
thing
did
the city ever saw.
so did the computer glitch. Swept right under the rug. Nobody knows what happened to the in the senior center. All of a sudden, it'll just float away, and we'll sweep
we
that
hope
under the
not.
carpet. Please continue, Linda.
That's why all the energy needs to be spent on electing people that are going to aggressively fight for more money for the poor cities and towns, so we can bring all these valued employees back. Eric, do you ever call the governor or go down to Boston to confront her on the issues that negatively affect the city?
I spoke to Lieutenant Governor last Thursday, and we had a very interesting conversation, and I asked her if they're going to give us back the $38 million, or closer to $40 million now on the overrun that's left at the high school. So we're in talks on trying to see if we can bring that back, but it looks like you have to go to the treasurer, Deb Goldberg, to get it. She was going to send me over the contact information and put me in contact with someone over there. But yes, we do have these conversations, and anytime I get the chance or they're here or something, it's not as easy to get in to see the governor, but the lieutenant governor is very available and always willing to have that tough conversation and try to help.
Well, why don't, when the governor is kind enough to visit UMass Lowell, getting the big job getter in the city nowadays, why don't we ask her? Would she stick your hand up and ask the question then? She's standing there live. Why don't we ask her when she's here? When she came to the South Common a couple of years ago, the cops kicked all the homeless off the Common for that day. And it just looked like the South Common. It's a beautiful, beautiful park. And nobody asked her a doggone thing about the homeless. Why don't we ask in public?
Well, why doesn't somebody from the community go in and ask? I mean, it was
Well, first of all, Linda, you don't even know where the governor's going to go today. It's top secret stuff. Tom Golden will send an email or text to all the city councilors. The governor's coming to Church Street at 9 o'clock this morning. Nobody else knows.
Yeah, and it's very hard for most of us to even get there because we have full-time jobs, so it's like you get it like hours before and you're trying to figure out, is there a way to get there? And a lot of times you can't.
Of course, that's not unique. I know my brother lived in Atlanta, and when the Olympics came, they did the same thing. They put them all in buses and sent them other places.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
And I mean, when you look at their schedules, I'm sure that they're jam-packed, but the lieutenant governor is very, very available. You call her, she answers her phone, she's very available to the conversation. I got to get to Deb Goldberg. That's the next step, and try to get a contact to her. So that's what I'm just waiting
right now she needs to vote, so now's the time to call her.
Well,
Deb
again, it's
Goldberg.
a state election.
Yeah, I don't know much about Deb
It's
Goldberg's
treasurer.
election. Yeah.
Her competition was here yesterday.
I know.
And so it's election season, so she'll be taking calls.
And as I explained to the lieutenant governor, I said, look, you know what, you guys, the state talks a lot about helping the lowest income people, and this would be the driver to it, is if you could get us that funding to offset the overrun, which we could push back to the city side so that affects the lowest income people, because if you raise the taxes, all that does is raise the rent on the
Exactly.
low income.
Yeah.
People can lie and say whatever they want. The person who owns the house is still buying his boat tomorrow. They're still going to their nice vacation house. They're going to be able to do all those things. They're just going to jack up your rents. And that just comes back, the subsidies from the state, as they see the rents increase, they're going to increase the subsidies, so it comes back to all of us. So that's
And the expense, the overrun, is probably due to state regulations.
Eric, how do you feel about a hiring freeze?
I think every position has to have an evaluation from the management team. And I agree with you on that. A hiring freeze would, like, take the fire department, because it's the easiest one to talk about right now. If we put a hiring freeze on, we'd go under that 203 number, we'd be in trouble. If we did a hiring freeze in the police, we have to really think.
Now, I'm talking about the second, third, and fourth floor of City Hall. We're very top-heavy. So when somebody and a lot of people retire over the summer. So when the guy in charge of broomsticks, who's making $250,000 a year, no, he'd probably be making like $150,000. He's in charge of broomsticks, $150,000 a year. He retires. The city council should reevaluate. Do we really need a broomstick guy?
And I know what you're going to say right when I say this, but the hard part on our end is the operation side versus the policy side. I know what John's going to say, create a policy. The operation side, you're overstepping your boundaries in doing that, because that's the manager's job.
How are you going to get the
is
cost
manage.
down then? Lowell does not live within its means. We have a city manager that just does not understand math. And we don't live within our means. We're paying a higher tax rate than Drake, and we are super subsidized by the federal and state government.
Would you agree that we may be paying a higher tax rate, but our evaluations are a lot lower, so there's a balance beam there? Would you agree that Drake's evaluations are higher so they can pay a lower tax rate, they're still getting the same money?
Drake's neighborhoods are a lot more valuable than Lowell's neighborhoods.
Well, if you look at some of the evaluations on the properties that we have, they're under-evaluated during their assessments, so we're paying less. Compared to Drake, where they're pretty much close, their evaluations are
I'm
close
not going
to
to get
the
off the
estimated
trail
value.
here, Eric. There's no mindset amongst your colleagues on the city council to reduce the cost of the city of Lowell.
I think there is a mindset, and I think
Okay,
we have
tell me
reduced it.
more.
Well, John, if we go into maintenance and we start maintaining things, there's a cost savings to that. If we start doing some of the things that we've been doing, we're going to see those cost savings. We saved $28 million by creating a sustainability department, and you keep saying there's no mindset. We created a sustainability department to save those funds. If we don't have that, you know where we are right now? We're in extreme troubles. That department has brought in $28 million in 3 years in grants that we would have never seen. So that is a cost savings. So there is savings. We're looking at a different avenue. We're looking at energy savings. We're looking at, if we maintain these things, they'll last longer for us. We're looking at a fire fleet that we put $10 million of opera money in because we were trying to save the taxpayer money. If we didn't do that on the opera side, we'd be buying fire trucks at a cost of $1 million for the next 20 years to try to catch up. And we're not there. So in year 8, we're going to have that package that way. So there is a mindset there. It's just not your mindset of saying, okay.
Eric, I don't see the harm in getting rid of the person who's in charge of broomsticks.
I don't either. And I agree with you.
And
think,
what's the process to make that happen? Tomorrow's City Life, we got Evelyn Thorne's the host. Sam Chase is going to be here. And City Councilor Sidney Lang's going to be here too.
The process is, again, now that we're seeing these times of layoffs and stuff, we have to continue to say to the manager, we're going to see one of the hardest budgets very shortly. If this sales tax rate goes from 5% to 4%, it's going to crush this city budget. And we got to get prepared for that. So any job that opens up, they need to evaluate whether it's needed or not, so we don't have to lay someone else off in the future, because someone else is getting laid off next year. This is just the beginning. Next year's budget's going to be worse if that 5% goes to 4%.
Eric, you're 100% right, because it's a state rep re-election time, so they're not going to cut us. But once they're in office,
we're getting cut.
we're getting cut big time
We're
next
getting
year.
cut. I'm telling you right out. I didn't lie to you when it came time for this tax increase. I told you it was going here. And I'm telling you, next budget is going to be worse than this one. So people better buckle up. They better get their savings accounts together. They better understand that there's going to be tough choices. And the choices that we make today could save somebody's job tomorrow, as you're outlining. If we look at those broom closet people, we have to make sure that we look at that. And the reason why is we have to lean up a little bit and see where we're going to go.
What does DPD do?
A lot of things, from the historic preservation pieces to.
Did we just fire that guy?
Yeah, we did. But
Okay.
again, is there? I don't want to go down that road. I would say that it was the department head's decision to pick that position,
But
figuring
the
that there's
DPD, gigantic department, they take up the whole, much of the JFK Civic Center. I don't know what they do.
Well, there's a lot of planning that goes on, whether it's the Hamilton Canal District, whether it's, they go from that to all the playground restoration we did, to some of the road work and shrinking it, traffic study. There's a lot of traffic issues that they go over. There's a lot of things, and I know you're not a fan of that overpass, and that was DPD,
A
right?
monumental waste of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I agree.
Yes,
It's
that-
very hard to get through. Yeah, I agree.
the traffic is ridiculous.
I go down the other way just to go around it.
Right.
But as a
I
funeral
do
director,
too.
I do like the bus lane.
Yeah. That's
It helps
Well,
us get
plus-
funeral processions through there fantastically.
With the budgets, like our contract expires 2027. So the expectations of the employees and their salaries and what I need, it's not even what my budget is. But my whole argument is, well, the state signed off in 2024, so you have to give me that money. You signed it in good faith to these union employees.
30 seconds.
Right.
we gave away good faith raises that we
That's-
cannot continue to go on because we're going to
But
be
you're in the
looking at-
contract, you signed it.
Yeah,
So now what? So the union employees should start getting their,
money.
Well, I hope they win on the way up.
I don't think it's going to get to that stage. I think the manager's taking care of it now.
Well, I certainly hope so. It's just not right.
When you have all these things moving in together and everything,
goodbye,
and people
kids.
are telling you things, it's different.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for getting up, guys.
Thank you.
Oh,